Hey guys, in this video I want to show you the best alternative for Airtable. As I'm using N8N every single day, I run into the issue that Airtable has few limitations or it actually starts getting really expensive for my needs, and I started looking around for a new solution. And I couldn't find for a long time. I tried Supabase, but Supabase wasn't like that. I tried to self-host Supabase, but it was actually really hard to fire it up and run smoothly. So I have found another solution, and in this video we're going to talk about this. Before we start, I want to quickly show you my community on the school, which is called NoCodeDB, which stands for Sell Automations as a Service. Feel free to check it out, and let's dive into it. The solution I have found is called NoCodeDB. It is open source and super simple to use. It's like Google Sheets and also reminds me a little bit of Notion. And by the way, Notion, or let's say Google Sheets using for your database, is a bad idea. I have done it. It's silly. Google Sheets have limitations on API calls. When you start doing it intensively, it just crashes and you reach the limit. Another thing is like Google Sheets for user experience to view the data is really bad. It starts using a lot of RAM for your PC and it starts to crash. Another thing, you can use, for example, Notion. I know a lot of people use Notion for data storage, but there's also limitations and it starts to get really slow when you do intensive work on it. So NoCodeDB is actually the best one. For example, I also help companies to do cold email outreach, and we personalize email subject lines and a few email snippets. For really high intense work, we use NoCodeDB because there's a lot of data inputs and we can match them, mark them really easily in NoCodeDB. Let me quickly show you what are the possibilities in NoCodeDB. You can host the database inside NoCodeDB, or you can use your own Postgres, MySQL, SQL databases. For example, I use Postgres because it's the easiest, the most efficient, and you can do a lot of things. And it's a possibility to scale later if you need. Also, you can use external source like JSON, CSV, the same Google Sheets, CSV sheets, or even Airtable. Connect them. And another cool thing is that you can just import CSV sheet inside the NoCodeDB and even multiple sheets at a time and merge them, and it works really cool. You can have webhooks for N8N, Zapier, or Make. So it works for Zapier and Make if you're not N8N fan as I am. And then the UI is really intuitive. You can have a grid view and multiple other ones. We will talk about that a bit later. And there's multiple possibilities to use REST API and SQL query. It has multiple purposes for use. You can use at CRM, for example, for your sales pipeline, multiple views, multiple tables. And for example, here also you can use for project management, use the Kanban view where you can put on the stages. For Airtable users, this seems the most familiar when you can just have a multiple choice views. And yep. So what I like about NoCodeDB that it is for free. And also there's multiple options like invite team members, share the project, ERD, multi-fields edit, and so on. They have shortcuts on the Mac that I really enjoy. As a person who hates terminal, I like everything see visual. The cool thing is that I have visual point of view like of the databases, and I can see all the structures and links to the database. Here you can see one of my tables that I have created, and in the tables actually the same features in Airtable. For example, here is just like Google links to some specific images that I have created. Then I can check mark if it's posted, not posted. I can change the statuses, everything the same as an Airtable. Let me show you what kind of names or fields you can add. You can add links, lookups, single line text, long text, number, decimal, attachments, checkboxes, multi-select, single select, date, year, time, phone number, email, URL, currency, percent, rotation, rating, formula, rollup, date and time, QR code, barcode, geometry, geodata, JSON, also JSONB, specific data, DB type, users, buttons, and so forth. Also, what I like here, you can change the fields. You can show all or hide all. Then for every single table, you can also create your custom views. For example, here, I have custom field where I switch off few fields that I don't want to see. Here's a filter, and when I'm gonna click here on approve, it just have the filter view. Another thing is cool, you can have a calendar view. If you use some time-sensitive data, you can create a field and it will show on the calendar. For me, unfortunately, I don't have these data. Let me check. I'm gonna go a little bit back. Maybe I can find something. Yeah, and you have calendar view for day, years, months. Also, Kanban view, for example, for sales pipeline, create stages and just move everything. You just can have really great view, filter, sort everything. And the last thing you can create is free form, where you choose which fields you want to have and just share the link and users can input it. And yeah, there's a few options to adjust the fields and design. And last thing what I want to cover here is how I'm using NoCodeDB in my workflows. By the way, I don't use NoCodeDB as a database. I use it as UI, so I can check the data, see the data, and adjust it. What I do, I put all the data in database. I run separate container on the Docker Postgres database, and NoCodeDB is just like visual UI that I can use to interact with my database. So whenever I need to record some data in database from N8N, I just request it. And the thing is, N8N can request and send data to Postgres, and the same is can do the same thing with NoCodeDB. If you have data only on NoCodeDB, but you don't have database, it still can send both ways the data. But what I don't like on NoCodeDB, there are limitations with the nodes. So you can just create row, delete row, get many rows, update rows. Kind of similar that Postgres nodes have, but not the same. So let me show what the Postgres node has. So the Postgres nodes have the same ones, but I can do SQL query. And that's the most important for me because sometimes I need to run very specific queries that I cannot run from NoCodeDB. So for me, it's very important that I can execute specific queries that I have specific variables and parameters from to Postgres. And that I cannot do from NoCodeDB node. But that is totally fine because sometimes I need database to be accessed to other applications, containers on my Docker. So that's why I have figured out that this works the best for me. I have separate database container, I have separate NoCodeDB container, I have separate N8N container on Docker, and that's how everybody is linked together and can interact to each other. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe or like this video if you find it interesting. Also, last thing, don't forget to check it out, our NoCode Sastify community on the school, and see you there and chat there.